You can.
But speaking of the on the night finesse, I was going to share a little story that happened not so long ago, actually. I'm not going to be specific about what company's party it was because I still talk to and work with this company on a relatively frequent basis, and they definitely don't know that I did this, and I don't want them to not work with me anymore. So I'm not going to say what company it was, but it was another E3 party.
Yeah.
And it was a big company that was holding a party that was meant to be amazing. Like, a lot of these parties get in big music acts.
Yeah.
And anyway, this party, what we were saying earlier was the on the night finesse cannot be underestimated. And I will count myself as a fairly good finesser. Like, I can hustle stuff last minute. I'm fairly confident usually in my ability.
And I consider myself a
I
veteran. I consider myself a veteran of specifically the party finesse. And I remember telling you, because it was like everyone else had their invites to this party sorted. Grace was kind of last minute. So it was like, and I was like, you know what? Like, just treat it as if you're going, because I have never not seen the hustle, especially considering that you were kind of with a group of people who were like, you know, relatively like high up the party chain. It was like, there's absolutely
It was ironic because I had spent the past week getting everyone else's names on the list in my role as like a manager, and forgot my own. But there had been a series of events that meant that this party was harder than ever to get into. And the on the day finesse was made extremely difficult because they had a very strict rule that the guest list was going to be finalized 48 hours before the party.
Yeah.
And we were speaking to people at this party that were very high up at the company, like the highest of the high. Like, if you think that there was anyone that would be able to get someone on the list, these people were like, I'm so sorry. There's literally nothing we can do. It's like a security thing. It's a company policy. We actually just can't. And a bunch of other people had tried. They had also failed. And I just want to stress that this was not a party that you could get into easily.
No.
More so, it wasn't just that your names had to be on the list. It was like you were emailed a code or something. Like, there was something more to it that was like an extra layer of security or something. People's names were pre-scanned as security tests because they really didn't want anything to go wrong at this party. I was out for dinner with everyone that was going to the party before. And it was just like, at this point, I was close to the point of just being like, look, it's just not going to happen. It's okay. There's been 100 other parties I've been able to go to. It's totally fine. It's not a big deal. And I went back to the hotel room. I got as far as going back to the hotel room. And then I think someone messaged me and they were like, no, it's really great. Come down here and we're going to make it work. I was like, okay, no worries. There's also wristbands to this story. That was the other element that was difficult. Everyone had wristbands. So it was made furthermore even difficult. A lot of times what people will do is they'll try and get like a pass out and then come back in. And I think there was some sort of mechanism around this, which was also really difficult. You also needed photo ID of like a passport.
The desperate play, if you couldn't get someone in, was you go into the party, you make sure it's classic play. You make sure your wristband's on loose, and then you go in and you get the loose wristband off one friend. You go out pretending like you need to, you know, do a phone call, and then you meet up with that friend, give them the wristband from the person who's already in there, and then the new person goes in. This party was different because the security was so tight, you needed a wristband in addition to, they would ID check your name off a list as you walked through. So it was kind of like, man, the usual plays just can't play.
Weren't going to work.
No.
Weren't going to work. It required a pro level of getting in there. Anyway, so basically what we did is they also had security literally walking around the perimeter of this party. So they were scoping out people that were like acting sus around it. I got dropped off in an Uber a block down the street. I'm like sneaking behind cars. I'm like walking behind things. I'm usually a very honest person. So this is new to me. I don't like feeling as though I'm trying to sneak one behind anyone. But you know, you got to do what you got to do. And I knew I was safe. I'm not going to like do anything bad at the party. I then had an accomplice come out of the party. I'm also not going to throw this person's name under the bus because they're also a very high profile person in the public eye that also does work with this company very frequently. She comes out. It needed to be a girl because I needed to use her ID. I'm not going to say anything more than this, but we just don't look alike. Straight up, we really do not look alike. Elliot, verify me.
Look,
back me up
you
here.
are both female people with
And that's
hair.
about as good as it gets in terms of collaboration.
Yeah, look, you're like, one thing I'll say is your hair. And also, you know what the thing is? A guy can't get away with that. With a girl, it's like you guys put on makeup, you're a different human being. Like, you at least
There's
like
at least a foot difference in height as well.
Okay, yeah, but look,
regardless,
your ID doesn't show your height.
She somehow got a spare wristband. Someone like slid one off their wrist that was on loosely. She brings it out and says she's going for like a smoke break or whatever, or like needs a pass out for 5 minutes. She needs to like call her mom or something. I don't know. We meet around the corner. She gives me the wristband and she gives me her ID. This is where it got a little bit dodgy. She then proceeds, she has someone else's fake ID as well. Well, it's not a fake ID, it's just someone else's ID. So she goes back in the line and she's like, hey, it's me. I'm just coming back in again. They're like, yep, check your ID. She's got a wristband and she's got her other friend's ID that's actually already in the party.
This was so convoluted.
5 minutes later, I come in, I've got my wristband and I've got her ID because her name's on the list. And I was like, hey, I just stepped out a few minutes ago, like coming back in. And it worked, guys. It worked. It was the biggest finesse we've pulled off. And I got in and it was funny because I know so many people there. Everyone was like, oh, hey, Grace, like, what's up? Like, good to see you. I was like, people from the company were like, hey, like, nice to see you. I guess assuming that someone else had got me in somehow.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a great night. There was a very big music act playing there. And that was, only about 8 months
That was one time where I was like, you know what? I'm glad it worked out. But I remember like halfway through that hustle just being like, man, like, is it really worth it? We could just go to a bar. Like,